The Baker and the Beggar. An Annapolis story. In the small town of Annapolis, Maryland, there was a bakery on Main Street that everyone knew about. The shop was called Bishop's Bakery, and it was famous for its delicious bread and cakes. The shop smelled amazing, especially when the fresh bread was coming out of the oven. However, the baker, Mr. Bishop, was not a friendly man. He was very skilled at baking, but he had a very mean attitude. Mr. Bishop was a very serious man. He never smiled and rarely said anything nice to his customers. He was also very stingy. When people bought bread, he always made sure to give them just the right amount, nothing more. If someone asked for a little extra, he would shake his head and say, "You're lucky to get this much." The people in the town didn't like his attitude, but they couldn't resist the taste of his bread. It was too good to ignore. Despite Mr. Bishop's unkind nature, his bakery was always busy. The smell of fresh bread and cakes would fill the air around the shop, and people from all over town came to buy his products. Some people even stood outside the bakery just to breathe in the wonderful smell. They didn't buy anything, but they enjoyed the scent of the bread, which seemed to make them feel happy. They didn't think it was a problem, but Mr. Bishop felt differently. Mr. Bishop was not happy about people standing outside and enjoying the smell. He believed that the smell of his bread was worth something. "People are stealing my hard work," he would complain. He often said he wished he could catch the smell in bottles and sell it to the people who liked it so much. But since that wasn't possible, he had to make do with what he could. One cold winter morning, as the first snow began to fall, Mr. Bishop noticed a young beggar standing outside his shop. The man was smiling as he breathed in the scent of the freshly baked bread. He didn't buy anything, but just stood there, enjoying the smell. This made Mr. Bishop very angry. He couldn't understand why someone would stand outside and take the smell of his bread without paying. He decided it was time to do something about it. Mr. Bishop marched out of the bakery and approached the young man. "What do you think you're doing?" he shouted. "You can't just stand outside and steal the smell of my bread for free. You owe me money." The young man looked surprised. "Steal the smell? But I'm just smelling the air. Air is free." Mr. Bishop scowled. "It's not just air. It's my bread. My work. You owe me for it." The young man didn't know what to say. He tried to explain, but Mr. Bishop wasn't listening. In his anger, he grabbed the young man by the arm and dragged him to the judge's house. The judge in Annapolis, Judge Thompson, was a kind man, known for making fair decisions. When they arrived at the judge's house, Mr. Bishop wasted no time. "Judge Thompson," Mr. Bishop said, "this young man is stealing the smell of my bread. He's outside my bakery, breathing in the air, and he hasn't paid me for it." The young man looked confused. "I didn't steal anything. I was just smelling the air." The judge raised an eyebrow. This is an unusual case," he said. "Let me hear both of you." The judge listened carefully to both sides. Mr. Bishop explained how his bread smelled so good that people couldn't resist it. He argued that the young man had taken the smell without paying. The young man explained that he hadn't taken anything, he had only enjoyed the smell, which was free. After a moment of thought, the judge spoke. "Mr. Bishop, I understand that your bread smells wonderful. It is a special smell, and I believe it belongs to you. However, the air itself, the act of smelling, is not something that can be sold. It's a natural part of life. The young man did not take anything from you." The judge turned to the young man. "But you did enjoy the smell. So, I think you should pay something." The judge looked at the young man and then at Mr. Bishop. The judge asked the young man if he had any money on him. "Yes, I have a small pouch with my life savings. But it's only a few coins," the young man replied. The judge held out his hand. "Let me see it." The young man hesitated but then passed his small, worn purse to the judge. The judge took it, held it up, and gave it a gentle shake. The soft clinking of the coins filled the quiet room. Mr. Bishop's face lit up. A smile, rare and full of satisfaction, spread across his lips. Finally, he was getting what he deserved. But then, the judge turned and handed the pouch back to the young man. Mr. Bishop's smile disappeared in an instant. His face twisted into a deep frown. "Wait a minute. I haven't been paid. You just gave him back his money." The judge nodded calmly. "Yes, Mr. Bishop, and that is because just as this young man stole the smell of your bread, it is only right that his payment be a sound." Mr. Bishop's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. He looked at the judge, then at the young man, and then back at the pouch. He realized he had no argument left. The judge smiled. "Justice has been served. You cannot sell what cannot be held, and you cannot be paid for something that was never taken." With that, the judge sent the young man home. Mr. Bishop, still grumbling, walked back to his bakery, unsure whether he had won or lost. And so, life in Annapolis continued. The bakery remained popular, and people still stood outside, enjoying the smell of Mr. Bishop's delicious bread, but none of them ever had to pay for the air. Thanks for watching this story about the baker and the beggar. Do you think the judge was fair in his decision? What would you have done if you were in the judge's place? Let us know in the comments. If you liked the video, don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe for more fun stories and lessons. Stay tuned for more exciting content, and keep practicing your English.